From our Main Street newsroom, this is 2 News Live at 3:30.
2 News Live at 3:30. Great to have you with us on a Monday. A lot to get to, of course. I'm sure you are aware of what's been going on in the Beaver area with the flooding that took place. Really, yesterday was the bulk of it coming off the Cottonwood Fire burn scar. And we have this look over my shoulder here showing just the front of one of those properties. And it's really startling to see a lot of the imagery that's come out of there, especially the aerial perspective from some of those early drone operators that were showing some of that water rushing through. And then, of course, now they've asked people, please do not fly your drone. So a couple of those things that we're going to look into today, particularly the rescue that took place last night and also how the situation stands right now in Beaver, especially in the Grove area. Samantha Hoffman is in Beaver right now and will join us live here on 2 News Live. Sam, where are you specifically in the Beaver area? This, for folks that don't live there, where can you pinpoint a location so they can get acclimated? What does it look like where you're standing?
Yeah, I'm in that Grove area that was evacuated. You're driving along 153 that goes towards the mountain, and that's where all these homes were that were highly impacted. Now, as you can see behind me, this is one homeowner. He's working right here behind me on his home. I'm not sure if you can see that mud level right there, but he said that this whole area was covered in about a foot of water while he was here. He said that there's 2 rivers accesses on both sides of his house, so the water came rushing in both ways. He said that it got all the way to about 3 feet deep in his house. Now he's working on really shoveling the mud there.
So Sam, what has it been like just driving to that area? I know you drove through the canyon area, getting up to Eagle Point Resort just a week or 2 ago, fire, and now we're talking the flood, the aftermath, if you will, from the fire. How do things differ from your perspective and what you've seen as part of the damages here?
So it was a little over a week ago when I first got up the mountain, got to see that burn scar, and there were areas of the mountain where the whole thing was completely black. It really showed you how fast that water was going to rush down. I'm actually going to step out of frame here just to show you for context where this home is. It is, again, right next to the water, and that's really what was detrimental for so many of these homes. As you can see, there's some mountain right there, so the water kind of came rushing down there, as well as from the river, which overflowed kind of right where those men are walking. Now there's homes all around here that the homes are in decent shape. They weren't completely destroyed, but they all have that deep mud mark I was talking about. There are also some cars and a lot of belongings that have more so floated down the area. You'll see cars just covered in mud. You'll see wheelbarrows, things like boats even, just various belongings that got really swept away and rushed up in this water.
Samantha Hoffman live in the Beaver area. Sam, thank you, and we will be checking in with you throughout the evening newscast as well to see what the latest is there as a lot of people try to figure out what is next. We're going to continue that coverage, if you will, in just a moment with one of the rescues. But this is 2 News Live. I want to bring you a live look in the Roy area right now. There are 2 different fires, by the way, in this general neck of the woods here in Weber County. Vegetation fire, as it's called out, but you can see just some black smoke over here on the side of the camera, and we had some pretty significant flames in the brush area. This is along Hinckley Drive, so it's relatively close towards the airport area. You see off in the distance some of the different signage that's along the freeway. So this is 1900 West on SR 126 in the Roy area. And again, for those just kind of getting acclimated with this location, is just outside of the airport boundary. So there's I-15 off in the distance. You're looking here along Hinckley Drive, which runs directly northwest of the airport there, Ogden Regional Airport. And this is what was described to us as a fire that involved, mostly was called out for vegetation, wasn't structural. As you can see, a lot of that movement down across the portion of the camera. This is a fire, a picture of the Meeks fire, I believe that is in Summit County. If we could get it back to that live camera, it would be preferred. However, as we move on here on 2 News Live to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, back to Beaver we go. There is the video that a lot of you have seen of just kind of the aerial perspective of what's been going on there. But the different aerial perspective, we just got into our newsroom, was the rescue that took place in the Beaver area yesterday. And I learned some more information about what took place here by talking exclusively to the rescue specialist who is at the end of that hoist line and plucked somebody out of the mud and debris. Take a listen.
That's probably my first time hoisting out of that specific kind of scenario, but it wasn't really that much more challenging than anything. This specific flood, the water had risen really high and caused a lot of damage to a lot of property really quick, and then it looked like it had kind of subsided. The worst of it was over by the time we got there, so we were just hoisting down into mud and debris, basically. People were trapped in their homes just because there were no roadways out at the moment.
What did your hoist yesterday entail? Was that an individual who was stranded?
Yeah, so the original reports of people needing help was there was somebody on the roof, and I don't know if they had telephone communication and were requesting help that way, but the information we got, there was somebody on the roof and then two people, maybe on like a porch or something like that, that looked like needed some assistance. As we got overhead, there was no longer anybody on the roof, but we did quickly locate a male individual. Looked like he was on his phone and walking around in the debris and the mud. The water had subsided, and was on the phone walking around at that house that the reports had come from. So we decided to hoist down in there. I was the rescue specialist, so they hoisted me down in there, and I made contact with that male individual to check on him, make sure everything was okay. And as I got down there, there was him and three other people, and made contact with them. I says, "Hey, we just heard somebody's up on the roof." He had confirmed that that was him up on the roof, and I asked if they needed any help. And I think mostly they were just scared and unknown of if there was another flood coming, what they could anticipate. And two of the four people there were elderly individuals, and with one of them being this female we rescued on oxygen currently. So with the unknown stuff, they asked, "Well, is there another flood coming?" I had kind of conferred that there wouldn't be another flood within that day coming, and the water looked like it was subsiding and things like that. And with discussing that further with them, they just were unsure the timeline of getting out. This elderly female was on an oxygen tank, and then whatever machine she had in her house that helps her breathe had shorted out. Obviously, floodwaters had come into the house, and that was no longer working for her. So with the unknown timeline on that, she was starting to get a little bit anxious, and we figured it'd probably be best to get her out, and then the other three would be fine to wait for rescue crews to come in, or the debris to get cleared out a little bit, and that they would be able to get out safely that way.
What was it like flying over that location? Different than maybe your Red Rocks or your Slot Canyons or other places that you've plucked people from over the years. You're over a town covered in mud and debris. Was that a little unique for you, given your expertise and experience in this field over the years?
Yeah, it's unique and it's shocking. You don't I've never seen that before. That many homes in one location with that much debris and that much water and that much damage. It really adds a different element to it. It was a first for me, and I think a first for the whole team that day.
It sounds like yesterday was maybe a better possible scenario than it could have been.
For all the chaos and damage and everything that was going on, definitely best case scenario. Most people had heeded the warnings of the flood, it seemed like, and it could have been a lot worse.
Back here live in downtown Salt Lake City, 2 News Live at 3:30. Meteorologist Chase Thomason here. What are you looking at right now?
Yeah, tracking a few thunderstorms, but we actually have some drier air in place. So don't expect a whole lot of valley rain for today, but you'll notice still some mountain thunderstorms, especially over the Uintas, a lot of lightning, and these storms are just drifting to the north to northwest at about 5 miles per hour. So maybe the Wasatch back later this evening could get more rainfall. I think we'll stay dry here along the Wasatch Front, but we still have some thunderstorms going up in the mountains of central and southern Utah. Of course, all eyes on the burn scars.
Yes, and that'll be probably something we're keeping an eye on for the foreseeable future. Speaking of the foreseeable future, your next weather maker is what?
Unfortunately, more monsoon moisture moves in. I think it's going to be a very active Tuesday and Wednesday. So the National Weather Service has already issued a new flood watch, meaning the ingredients are there for flash flooding. Tomorrow afternoon through tomorrow night, there's going to be an elevated risk for flash flooding across this area. That moisture is lifting northward, so that flood watch has been expanded. Does not include the Wasatch Front, but it's getting close. Again, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to walk you through it. Some pretty active weather, I think, and we'll break it all down on 2 News at 4.
Sounds good. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chase. More ahead here on our 2 News Live at 3:30. Some video here over my shoulder just for reference point, and I'm imagining flooding, but that is just a solid guess right now as I walk across the newsroom here to our content center. We are talking about flooding because that is the big topic of what's been going on, especially around the Cottonwood Fire. Where comes fire in large acreage like this comes flooding. You're seeing this video that Mike sent to us yesterday. Meeting up with Jonathan over here in the content center, I can only imagine what you have for us on the website.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. We're just monitoring, as you mentioned, the latest with flooding, specifically evacuation latest. Now, we know the Grove neighborhood Sunday afternoon was evacuated. Those neighbors and residents there are returning to their homes temporarily today to kind of get a look at and assess the damages. We also have a photo gallery that kind of shows these damages, Brian. As you can see, just the water that is just under these homes here. You can see here as I swipe through, the water just getting in here. That looks to be potentially a garage there. But yeah, a wide shot, kind of a bird's eye perspective of these homes and the damage here with all this water.
Lots going on right now just in the general news front. What else do you have on our website and available for people at their fingertips?
Yes, well, if your photos aren't doing it for you, you can also check out some more drone video. You can see that same home is right here. So this kind of gives you a whole wide view perspective of just Beaver County here and the waters that have, and then mud and the debris that have swept through here. You can also hear, if you want to check out what neighbors and local residents have to say, we do have content where we just have been talking to people. She's lived here for 2 decades, and she's just talking about how she's never seen something like this and how Beaver is forever changed by these floods.
I would imagine, and then of course this area not strangers to any fire over the last couple of years. So I'm sure some were at least mentally ready for something like this to come. A lot on our website right now and a lot of interesting video and perspectives. Jonathan, thank you very much. We just talked about the Beaver area, the Cottonwood Fire, and then also the flooding that came with it. On the other side here, we will give you a live look in the Roy area of a fire that is happening right now. It is a shot we showed you a little while ago, but now a wider look here. This is along Hinckley Drive. We'll come back and check in with our 2 News assignment desk right after this. Back here on 2 News Live, great to have you with us here. We are in downtown Salt Lake, right behind our assignment desk. We're tracking this that we see on this UDOT camera here from just outside the boundaries of the Ogden Hinckley airports, virtually across the street. This is in Roy. Delilah is here. You have been listening to this for the last, half hour, 45 minutes or so. What do we know so far?
So far, what we're hearing is that they are evacuating homes around the area, sending them to an elementary school. We have a reporter and a photographer en route for that. We also have another photographer who's there who's saying that some of the roads are closed down. They're diverting traffic, and just kind of like there's just a lot of smoke.
Yeah, a lot of smoke going up here, and it's kind of interesting to get this perspective once the the camera repixelates itself. You can see some of the bulldozers here trying to actually dig some line, which is an interesting perspective. And then this roadway here, this would be Hinckley Drive. It's closed at Pennsylvania Avenue, according to those that work for the UDOT traffic folks. But active fire and active smoke and a lot of response there as they move this camera around just to give us a vantage point. It's like they're watching the show along with you. You can see obviously looking a little bit west, then they bring that camera back and toggle it for us to see that traffic impact, if you will. What else have you heard as it pertains to area transportation? I believe we first heard because of, was this the same fire or maybe a different one that had to do with some concerns with the front runner, right?
Well, what it sounds like is that they're probably close together, but two separate fires. One fire is by the Roy front runner, and that shut down trains, and we've had a couple of calls of people who were there having to get off the train. And this is a different fire, so we're not sure exactly if they're caused by the same, but definitely two fires in the area.
So here, it's kind of nice that it's almost like the folks back at there at the Traffic Operations Center just want to give us all the movement for this fire so we can see the traffic impact, but most importantly, kind of the direction, the smoke direction pushing towards the east, towards the Wasatch Mountains. And obviously it caught through some lighter vegetation, but this area is just mixed. I mean, you've got some heavier brush in there intermixed with some light flashy fuels that are going to move pretty quickly. So those fire crews have their hands full, especially when temperatures are in the 90s right now. What else is going on here on the desk this afternoon?
Let's see, we have
business as usual.
We have a couple of photographers who are going to go to some protests about the Bears Ears executive order that was signed by Trump. And also some flooding.
A lot of news here. So we'll give you this live look from Roy. Delilah, thank you very much. A lot to look at with this live camera as we continue to see that smoke billowing out of the Weber County area. People online are sharing an outpouring, if you will, of support after Provo Fire and Rescue lost one of its own, with departments across Utah posting a lot of those tributes. A lot of you are talking about this on social media. This has to do with the flash flooding in Wayne County late last week. We've started to learn a little bit more information through the last few days. Provo Fire Department said our thoughts are with his family, friends, and colleagues during this difficult time. Out of respect for the family and the ongoing official process, we will not be commenting further at this time. Meanwhile, Pleasant Grove City Fire Department, today we join our brothers and sisters at Provo Fire and Rescue in mourning the heartbreaking loss of their own. Orem, Lehigh, Springville, and the Utah County Sheriff's Office have also come together, among many others, a non-line of duty related incident involving family. And we've just heard about so many people talking about this online and on social media, and we'll likely continue here as we look at the weather pattern, if you will, with some unrelated situations. This would be I-15 through Beaver. This was closed on Sunday because of the floodwaters that this camera, it was the same point of view, by the way. It was just zoomed in, looking this way. You could see the humps in the road, and the water was rushing across. Now, things are different now. They were able to reopen that road this morning. We reached out to UDOT, who tell us that drivers would need to use potentially other roads if this were to come through here. But for now, this location, I-15, is looking pretty good. But you see the ominous clouds off in the distance, and that was definitely a concern for a lot of folks that live in Beaver County, as it's a conversation that we have been following over the course of the weekend here and really late into last week when those debris flows started taking place. People on social media, as we listen to you here on 2 News Live, they're also talking about crowds at the Ogden Rodeo. Now, we have a big rodeo culture here in the state of Utah. As you look at some video from one of our area rodeos, specifically this one in Ogden, and people are saying that the crowds are a little bit lighter, but some are also pointing to spending more money, so higher ticket prices that are coming about from some of these rodeos. We reached out to the Ogden Pioneer Days organizers to try to get some answers and see what's causing that change, and as soon as we're able to get some more clarification of the pricing and whatnot, we will relay that information to you here. But again, Ogden Rodeo, that's the place that they are talking about that, as we saw today, the Days of 47 getting going with the annual ride through downtown Salt Lake City. 2 News listens to you. We see what you're saying on social media. We try to get you answers to a lot of those questions. We hear you, and we're always interested in trying to dive a little bit deeper, too.